You've also said that there's a lot of fat in government that you would want to slim
Incredible
down.
fat.
So what agencies would you want to shut down?
Well, let me have you ask another person that, because I'm going to have Elon Musk. He is dying to do this. You know, he's a great business guy, actually. You think of him for science and rockets, and every time I think he's telling me about a new screw that was developed, he's developed a new screw. Screws are difficult, and it's made out of titanium, and it's so exciting. But you know what? He's a great business guy, and he's a great cost cutter. You've seen that.
Yeah, there's a job description for a guy who's in charge of the entire government and will decide what we spend on and what we cut costs on. The title for that job is called president. So this is Donald Trump saying, oh, Elon Musk gave me a lot of money, so he's gonna be the president. He's gonna decide what we cut costs on for the entire government. That's not a position that exists. Maria Bartiromo asked if it's a cabinet position, and he's like, no, not a cabinet position, because no such position exists. Actually, it's, again, like I said, it kind of does. It's called president. So this is insanity, as usual. And by the way, Bartiromo, give her first piece of credit I've given her in about a decade, where she said, well, your tariffs would massively increase the deficit, and way more than Kamala Harris. And that's true, so how are you gonna pay for it? And he said, oh, that's okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna bring in Elon Musk, who's a huge donor, and I'm gonna hand the government over to him, and he's gonna do what he did at Twitter. What did he do at Twitter? He cut 75% of the workforce. By the way, this is the job creator. This is the guy who's gonna help you guys. No, he's gonna cut the living crap out of these jobs. So, but he's apparently come up with a name for Elon's upcoming position. Let's find out.
He said, I could cut costs without affecting anybody.
So he will be in the cabinet?
Not in the cabinet. He doesn't want to be in the cabinet. He just wants to be in charge of cost cutting. We'll have a new position, Secretary of Cost Cutting, okay? Elon wants to do that. And we have incredible people. He's running a big business. You know, he can't just say, oh, I think I'll go into the cabinet. You know, other people can. He can't. But Elon's a little bit different in that sense. And besides that, I want him to send the rocket up to Mars. He said, he's made me a promise he'll get to Mars before the end of my administration, which will be long before, hopefully, China or Russia.
Obviously, there is no Secretary of Cost Cutting, nor will there ever be. And he just told you he won't take a position in the cabinet. Then he said, I'll create a cabinet position for him, and made up this lunatic thing. But it doesn't matter. He's basically saying the same thing about Elon Musk that he says about Miriam Adelson, which is, okay, if you give me enough money, I'll just give you US policy. So apparently Elon Musk is getting the domestic policy, Miriam Adelson is getting foreign policy, at least in regards to Israel. The oil companies are getting our energy policy. He's just selling off every part of the government as long as it lands in his pocket, some portion of it. So that leads us to Trump brackets. We've been trying to tell everybody, remind everybody all the horrible things that Donald Trump has said and done, because there's such a deluge, we forget. We're at the egregious 8, the final 8, and these are very tough questions now. We need you guys to vote at TrumpBrackets.com. First question today is, we've got one seed said his VP deserved to be murdered. We'll show you the tape in a second. Second, 5 seed is, said Second Amendment support could counteract Clinton's judicial appointments. So there's a couple of potential political murders in there. First, let's show you what he apparently said about Mike Pence.
I remember Pat saying something to the effect of, Mark, we need to do something more. They're literally calling for the vice president to be effing hung. And Mark had responded something to the effect of, you heard him, Pat, he thinks Mike deserves it, he doesn't think they're doing anything wrong.
That guy's currently leading. The guy who thought, yeah, you should murder my vice president. Okay, anyway, that's only one of the contestants. We don't know if that one's gonna win. Now, did he really say the Second Amendment thing about the Clinton judges? Watch.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
now that a person took a shot at him and another one tried to take a shot at him, all of a sudden he doesn't think that Second Amendment guys should do something about it. But back then, when it was his political opponents, he's like, maybe the Second Amendment guys can just murder Hillary Clinton's judges. This is the guy who's currently leading in the race. TrumpRackets.com. Make sure everybody knows what kind of monster he actually is. All right, last question for today. Threatened to target his political opponents if reelected versus found liable of sexual abuse of E. Jean Carroll. That's a 3 versus a 2 seed. And here he is on political opponents.
But wouldn't it be terrible to throw the president's wife and the former Secretary of State? Think of it, the former Secretary of State, but the president's wife into jail. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing? But they want to do it. So it's a terrible, terrible path that they're leading us to, and it's very possible that it's going to have to happen to them.
It's going to have to happen to them. What did Jill Biden do? I mean, I'm not a fan of Dr. Jill Biden at all. I think she's an egomaniac. I've said plenty of political criticism of her. Why are we arresting her? Did she break any crimes? Look, this guy's currently leading in the race. The Democrats drive me crazy. They have no idea how to fight this guy. TrumpRackets.com. Make sure everybody's participating. Anna.
Yeah, I mean, look, a common argument I hear from Trump supporters is, yeah, look, we don't like the things he says. We liked his leadership, but he says unsavory things. We can't really get behind that. We don't really like it, but we're willing to look past it. But you got to understand that a lot of what he says sows fear, it sows chaos, it leads to distrust. And when, I've made this argument before, when he makes statements about how Venezuelan gangs, for instance, they've taken over and they now control Aurora, Colorado. Well, when he makes an exaggeration like that, it ends up leading to distrust when there are real legitimate reports about apartment complexes that are dealing with this problem, okay? When he puts out these statements about retaliation against his political opponents, it leads to fear and chaos. I mean, it's just, I listened to his entire Coachella, California rally over the weekend because I want to know what he's actually saying in full context, right? I want to get an idea of what his rallies are really like. And yeah, he does sow a lot of fear in people's minds. And I don't think that it's helpful. There was a lot of demagoguing. And so you can say that you liked his leadership, but you have to also take ownership of the fact that his statements lead to a lot of bad results in this country. It leads to division, it leads to hatred, it leads to fear. And that's not what you need in a leader. You need a leader who wants to bring people together and get people accurate information about what's really happening, not just on the ground here in the United States, but around the world.
I'm so mad at the Republicans because finally there's a little bit of a populist uprising against the establishment, and they pick a legendary con man to divide us, do everything his donors want, hand the government over to the donors while pretending to be a populist and making us hate each other based on insanity like this and egging on more chaos and violence. So look, eventually, once they had a new candidate, Blue MAGA realized, oh, Joe Biden is too old. I don't know if actual MAGA is ever going to come to the realization that Donald Trump is too crazy. But it's the most obvious thing in the world to the rest of us. Please, the answer to the corruption of the establishment is not a lunatic fascist who says, well, if they're a political opponent, maybe we should imprison them or maybe even kill them. And not even just political opponents, his own vice president. How are we having this conversation? I mean, look, people drop in, oh, disqualifying for any candidate they don't like for any action they've have done, and it drives me crazy. But if anything is disqualifying, it's saying I don't mind my own vice president being murdered by my own supporters because that would help my political career a little bit. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.